Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're plunging into a real mystery, one that's really captured imaginations for ages, the Mokelembembe.
Ah, yes, the Congo creature.
Exactly. And this isn't just, any old legend. We're talking about something described as, well, everything from a spirit to a reptile, even maybe a living dinosaur, a sauropod specifically.
It's an incredible story, isn't it? It really pulls together so many threads, ancient folklore from Bantu mythologies, those early sort of colonial explorations.
And then it gets tangled up with modern cryptozoology, that's the hunt for hidden animals, and perhaps surprisingly, young Earth creationism too.
Right. Which is a whole other layer. Basically became this focal point for explorers, scientists, even pop culture creators. Everyone seemed fascinated.
So our mission today, as always, is to unpack the sources you've provided. We want to pull out the key insights, the surprising facts about Mokelembembe.
Yeah, give you the essential rundown, the full scope of this legend and the quests it sparked.
Let's jump right in then. Where does this story actually begin?
Well, its roots are deep in several Bantu mythologies. The name itself, Mokelembembe, means something like one who stops the flow of rivers.
Interesting. And the first recorded mention, I saw something about 1776.
That's right, yeah. Some records dated back that far. And incredibly, even listed under parent, Sauropoda, the dinosaur group.
Wow. So the dinosaur connection was being made, or at least suggested, centuries ago. But it really bursts onto the Western scene later, doesn't it?
It does, largely thanks to a German captain, Ludwig Freiherr von Stein zu Lausnitz.
Von Stein, right, 1913, surveying German colonies in Cameroon.
Precisely. He starts hearing these persistent stories from locals about an enormous reptile. And he didn't just dismiss them. He included a detailed description in his official report.
What details did he include? That's what really set the stage, wasn't it?
Absolutely. He described it as brownish-gray with smooth skin. Size-wise, think an elephant, maybe a hippopotamus.
Okay, big.
Big. And a long, very flexible neck. That's key. Plus, only one tooth, but a very long one. Though he noted some people said it was a horn.
A tooth or a horn. And the tail.
Muscular, like an alligator's. It was said to attack canoes, killing the crews, interestingly, but not eating them.
Strange detail.
Isn't it? And supposedly lived in caves along the riverbanks. Diet-wise, purely vegetarian.
And he mentioned a specific plant it ate.
Yeah, a type of liana, a vine with white blossoms, milky sap, and these apple-like fruits. He was even shown a path supposedly made by it, though he admitted tracks were hard to distinguish.
So von Stein was cautious, but he seemed to believe the stories were consistent, coming from different reliable
It
sources.
did. He seemed genuinely perplexed, but felt the consistency lent credibility. But there's a twist.
Oh.
Yeah, later on, in 1929, another science writer, Wilhelm Bolsche, claimed von Stein actually didn't believe it was a real animal. Bolsche suggested von Stein thought it was just local folklore.
Okay, so right from the start, there's this ambiguity about what the original source, von Stein, truly believed. Interpretation versus fact.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, Mokelembembe wasn't the only strange creature story coming out of Central Africa back then.
Right, there were others, like the Unsanga.
Yes, Lieutenant Paul Gratz wrote about that in 1911 from Lake Bangweulu. He called it a degenerate saurian, said it had no scales, clawed toes, even claimed he'd seen strips of its skin.
And the Emelantuka. Similar descriptions, right? Elegant size, smooth skin, horn, or tooth.
Very similar. And Alfred Elisha Smith mentioned the Jagonini in Gabon, too. So these kinds of legends were widespread before Mokelembembe became famous.
But they all sort of got viewed through this dinosaur lens once von Stein's report gained traction, particularly in the West.
Precisely. And that timing is crucial. The early 20th century, especially the 1910s, was peak dinosaur mania in Europe and North America.
Ah, the Brontosaurus era, like those old Charles R. Knight paintings showing them wading in swamps.
Exactly. Those images were powerful, even if inaccurate by modern standards. So when these reports from Africa surfaced, the media likely jumped on the sauropod angle. It made for a great story.
A sort of perfect storm of folklore, exploration, and pop culture fascination.
And this is where it intersects more formally with cryptozoology and significantly young Earth creationism later in the mid-20th century.
Right. The idea being, if a dinosaur is still alive, maybe evolution or the geological timescale is wrong.
That's the argument some proponents make. Paleontologist Donald Prothero is quite critical here. He says the search for Mokelembembe became part of the effort by creationists to overthrow the theory of evolution by any means possible.
He even says the only people looking are creationist ministers, not wildlife biologists. That's quite a strong statement.
It is, and it definitely raises questions about the underlying motivations for some of the expeditions that followed. You have to ask, what were they really hoping to find?
Which brings us to the actual searches. The big ones were probably the Powell-Mackal expeditions in 1980 and 81.
Yeah, biologist Roy McCall teamed up with explorer James Powell. They went deep into the Congo, interviewed lots of local people.
Did they find anything? Physical evidence.
No hard evidence. But McCall really argued for its existence based on what he felt were consistent eyewitness accounts. He wrote a book about it in '87.
Did he acknowledge the, let's say, romantic aspect of the quest?
He did, actually. He admitted his investigation was tinged with some romanticism, but he insisted the intent was scientifically serious.
But Prothero had criticisms of McCall's work too, right?
Oh, definitely. Prothero argues McCall wasn't really qualified for that specific kind of zoological field research. His background was virology.
Different skill set.
Very. And Prothero suggests McCall might have accepted the eyewitness stories too readily, maybe not fully considering exaggeration or, people perhaps wanting attention or financial gain.
Or maybe just telling the foreigners what they seem to want to hear.
That's also a possibility Prothero raises. And he notes McCall seemed dismissive of locals who denied knowing about the creature. It really highlights the difficulties in that kind of cross-cultural investigation.
Absolutely. Were there other major expeditions or claims around that time?
There were. Marcelin Agnagna, a Congolese zoologist, claimed he filmed it in 1983.
Really? What happened to the footage?
Well, supposedly the film did not develop properly or was unusable because the camera was set incorrectly. Prothero found the whole thing suspicious, noting Agnagna's story changed over time and wasn't backed up by others on the trip.
Sounds convenient. Any others?
A Scottish explorer, William Billy Gibbons, led expeditions in '85 and '92. Again, Prothero questions his motives, pointing to creationist leanings and maybe less than rigorous scientific methods.
And there was a photo.
Journalist Rory Nugent published one in his 1993 book, claiming it showed the creature. Prothero and others looked at it and suggested it was most likely just a floating log or debris.
So lots of claims, lots of expeditions, but still no conclusive proof. What about more recently in the 21st century?
The search hasn't entirely stopped. An interesting bit came from a 2001 BBC documentary, Congo.
What did they find?
They showed an illustrated wildlife guide to some Biaka people. When they got to the rhinoceros page, the Biaka identified that as Mokelembembe.
A rhinoceros.
Yeah. It led to the theory that maybe the legend is a kind of folk memory, possibly mixed with mythology, recalling a time when black rhinos were actually more common in that part of the Congo basin.
That's a plausible explanation, linking it to a known, albeit locally extinct, animal.
It seems quite likely. Then in 2016, a South African documentary crew went to the Likwala swamp area. They collected more stories, but they really highlighted how blurry the line was for some locals between the creature as a physical being versus a sort of metaphysical entity. Some said it was still around, others said it died years ago.
So the story itself is evolving, changing within the local culture.
Seems that way. And one more Danish expedition in 2018 went to Lake Telly, a supposed hotspot.
Led by a count, I believe.
That's right, Lensgreve Adam Christopher Knuth. They spent time there with the film crew. No cryptid, unfortunately.
But they found something else, didn't they?
They did. A genuine scientific discovery. A new species of green algae.
So the hunt for a mythical dinosaur-like creature led to new pond scum.
Well, new pond scum, yes. It's something.
It is something. So, summing up the scientific view then, where does that leave us?
Overwhelmingly, the scientific and historical consensus is skepticism. There's just no physical evidence, no bones, no teeth, no clear photos or videos, no DNA.
Despite all the searches and the technology we have now, like satellite imagery.
Exactly. We can spot elephant herds from space, but not a giant sauropod analog. It seems unlikely. And the eyewitness accounts are too varied and contradictory.
So the black rhinoceros theory remains the most accepted explanation.
It's certainly the most grounded one, yeah. And skeptics like Ben Radford, Daniel Loxton, and Prothero trace the modern legend's launch specifically back to Carl Hagenbeck.
Hagenbeck, the zoo guy from 1909.
That's him. In his book Beasts and Men, he speculated, based purely on legends and recent fossil finds, that maybe sauropods could still be alive in remote Africa. He had no proof, just speculation.
But the press ran with it.
Oh, yeah. Papers like the Washington Post picked it up. And according to these skeptics, that really launched what would become the modern cryptozoological legend of Mokelembembe.
So not genuine native accounts initially driving the Western interest, but rather Western speculation projected onto very local stories.
That's their argument, that the specific sauropod in the Congo idea wasn't really from the source initially, but was a distillation of many creatively varied stories from widely separated regions filtered through Hagenbeck's widely publicized guess.
And the final nail in the coffin, argument-wise.
Just the sheer lack of evidence after centuries of contact, countless expeditions, and modern surveillance. If something that large was there, you'd think we'd have found something by now.
It seems logical, and yet the idea persists, doesn't it? Especially in popular culture.
Oh, absolutely. That's maybe the most fascinating part now. Regardless of whether it's real, Mokelembembe has definitely made its mark.
It really has. I mean, you see it everywhere. There's even a chess opening variation named after it.
Is there really? I didn't know that one.
Yeah. And movies, obviously. Baby. Secret of the Lost Legend is a classic example.
And it got a mention as one of the titans in the recent Godzilla movies, too.
Video games as well. Uncharted Waters, Metal Gear Solid, Peace Walker.
Books galore, Cryptid Hunters, Mortal Engines. Even Dom Joly wrote about searching for it in Scary Monsters and Super Creeps.
It pops up in music, gets mentioned on podcasts like Joe Rogan's. It's kind of woven into the fabric of mystery creature lore.
Even in shared fictional universes, like the World of Darkness role-playing games with their Mokele were reptiles, or the SCP Foundation, which classifies a version of it.
It's incredible, really. The cultural footprint is undeniable, far exceeding any actual evidence for the creature itself.
It just shows the power of a compelling story, doesn't it? Especially one involving dinosaurs and unexplored places.
Absolutely. So we've journeyed from Bantu mythology through colonial reports, cryptozoology, creationism, countless expeditions, scientific skepticism, and all the way into movies and video games.
Quite the trip for a creature that likely doesn't exist.
Indeed. Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought, perhaps. In this age where we're drowning in information, how do we navigate that line, the line between a really gripping narrative that sparks our imagination and the verifiable facts that, well, shape our understanding of reality?
That's the core question, isn't it? What is it about these stories of the unknown, like Mokelembembe, that holds such enduring fascination for us? What stands out to you?